Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's time for Ham Talk Live, episode number 262, Field Day Q&A 2021, recorded live on Thursday, June 24th, 2021. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Paul Bourque, N1SFE, talking field day rules and field day in general, and we'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. We're going to open up the phone lines a little early tonight because we want your calls. This is supposed to be a question and answer session, so we want your calls, we want your tweets. So we'll give out the phone number here in a little bit, and we're going to open up the phone lines a little early tonight, and we've got some more stuff to talk about if nobody calls, but we want to open it up and get some phone calls. So that number is 859-982-7373. And we'll give that out here again in a minute or so. Last week here on the show, Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, was here to talk about some new kits. And we talked about some choices for surfaces on which to solder. And if you missed that show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. And you can catch the rebroadcast of Ham Talk Live on WTWW, that's 5085 AM, Saturday afternoons at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So get your questions ready to go for Paul. If you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can give us a call in just a little bit. And again, here is the phone number so you can have it ready. It's 859-982-7373. Let me read it one more time. 859-982-7373. You can also tweet us. It's just at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. And I'll be back with Paul right after this word from ICOM right here on Ham Talk Live. It's that time of year again. Field Day is from June 26th to 27th, and ICOM has the base station of your dreams with the IC7300 and IC9700 SDR transceivers and the portable SDR transceiver, the IC705. These amateur radios are top of the line and are the choice for DXers and contesters across the globe by helping operators cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Be a field day leader with ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. The IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transceiver digitizes RF before various receiver stages to reduce the generated inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 is the radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. It has RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. The real HF fun starts here. And you can create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver radio brings direct sampling to the UHF and VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy. A 4.3-inch color touchscreen with real-time spectrum scope and waterfall display, smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, and dual watch operation and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Expect top performance on field day with ICOM's IC9700. And of course, the IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and outdoors on field day. It's the perfect QRP companion. This base station has features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and weighs in at just under 2 pounds. It has the 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall, 5 watts out with the battery, 10 watts with the power supply, does full D-Star, sideband, CW, AM, and FM modes. It has a micro USB connector, Bluetooth, wireless LAN, and micro SD card slot, integrated GPS and GPS logger, and the speaker mic comes standard. Perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations, a day in the park, or some contesting. Visit the IC705 webpage to view accessories and free software available for download. And you can check all that out at icomamerica.com/amateur. You can find more information on all of ICOM's radios there. Again, it's icomamerica.com/amateur.
A flashlight is a case for holding dead batteries. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Thanks to ICOM America for sponsoring the show. Check them out at icomamerica.com/amateur. Well, welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tonight, Paul Bourque, N1SFE, joins us on the Orlando Amateur Radio Club and Hamcation Hotline. ARRL Contest Program Manager Paul Bourque, N1SFE, just completed his second full year in that role, and Paul's been licensed since 1994. And much like my story, I grew up listening to distant AM stations and later developed a career involving some aspects of broadcasting, and he started at a broadcast station at the University of Hartford, where the station's general manager, John Ramsey, W1JNR, pushed him to get his license, and so the rest is history. He grew up in Newington and wanted the opportunity to give back to the hobby, and now he's working at league headquarters. So, Paul, welcome back to the show. I'm sorry I can't buy you a Ted steamed cheeseburger tonight.
well, yeah. Next time we come out, we'll have to try some more local cuisine out here.
Yeah. I need to come back out and just enjoy, my time. When I'm there, I'm there for Teachers Institute, and so we have a full day, and it's very enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, but it is a full day. So I need some time to just get out there and just relax and enjoy the area.
Yeah. Well,
we're talking.
It'd be good to have you back. I know it's been a couple years since we've done Teachers Institute.
Yeah, it has, and this year is virtual. So I'm interested to hear how that's going. That's coming up here in about 3 weeks, same time as Yoda Camp, actually. So I'm not going to be able to check that out this year, but it'll be interesting, and there's a very good lineup of people for that. So. Another thing that the league is doing. But right now we're focused on field day. That it's coming up or just 2 days away. And when you started planning field day, which is like you're always planning field day, but when you started planning field day for this year, we were all still wearing masks and vaccines hadn't rolled out yet. And boy, has a lot changed in the last few weeks and months. So everything was set up for, okay, just operate from home, just operate from home, just operate from home. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And so we can get back together again. So how has field day changed this year after the big change last year?
Well, as far as what we're doing rules-wise, we haven't really changed anything because, early on, we didn't know where we were going to be come late June. And that was one of the things we had dealt with last year. And this year we decided to kind of set the rules waivers in place early instead of waiting because we didn't know where we would be. And there was always the option of going back to what would be considered more of a normal, regular field day or a traditional field day, if things had changed. And we always had the league stance was always pay attention to what your local and state and regional authorities are saying as far as mask mandates, whether your group feels safe. I mean, our biggest priority is to making sure that groups feel safe. So there was always the option of a participant operating from home. And what we're seeing this year is a lot more groups decided to do their traditional Class A field day operations. And some members of those groups were still opting to stay home and contribute their scores to the club aggregate score. So it's kind of, I'm seeing a lot of people are emailing me saying, I want to work class D or Class E from home, and I want to put my club score in. How do I, attribute my score to my club? How do I do it? And I'm also seeing a lot of clubs saying, we're going ahead and doing a field day. We're going to have a public information table. We're going to open it to the public more in the traditional sense. So I'm actually seeing more of a mix. Last year was heavy on the Class D and E and not so heavy in the Class A. And I didn't pull up that data. Last year I had that data for you, but it was really 90% or so Class D and E home stations and, maybe not even 10% people running Class A's.
Yeah, so it's been a lot different. And let's talk about this club aggregate score, because that's something that was just introduced last year for COVID. And it's a little easy to misconstrue what's going on here with the club aggregate score. So let's talk about that. So if I am going to work from home, we can contribute to that aggregate score, but we're not just like, adding our points in.
Right. So the aggregate score is completely done by the ARRL. So in other words, if you're operating a Class D or E from home, you're not taking your points and bringing them over to your club secretary and say, here, add this to our score. How the aggregate score works, and people who are more familiar with traditional amateur radio contesting, it kind of works the same way, is people attribute their score to the club, and then we just add up everyone's individual scores and put a club aggregate score out there. So what happens is you'll enter your club name on the entry form, and we'll go by that. So in other words, if we see I don't know, just to make up a club, Southern Kansas Amateur Radio Club, we see people attributing their scores to that same club, we add them all together. And really, it's important to make sure you are using the correct club name. In other words, Kansas City Amateur Radio Club or ARC. I mean, we're kind of hip enough to realize what the abbreviations, but some people get the names not even the same. And they're like, well, how come my score didn't get attributed to my club? Well, because you didn't, it's all based on what your club name is in the entry. So you don't send that into your club. You send it into the ARRL as a separate entry under your own call sign. And the club, if they're also doing a Class A or B, will operate under their call sign, possibly their club sign or another call sign. but it's not the same call sign. So it's based on the club name.
And you're not going to put that in as like at the top. You're going to put that in where it asks you for a club.
Right. You're going to put your call sign in where it says call sign, and it says club or group name, and you're going to put the name of the club. And if you looked at how we did the results last year, you'll see there's a list. There was a list of club aggregate scores right on the top of the page. Actually, it was on page 72 of QSP. I actually pulled the article up. So you see the club aggregate scores. Just list the name of the club, the total score of all the entries that were submitted, and then the total number of entries that were submitted. Like, for example, I'm just looking at the top of the list. So we had Aardvark Wireless Group had an aggregate score of 12,354, or 12,354 rather, and 10 entries. So that was all 10 entries that had attributed their names to that club. That's how we added up the score. And if there was a class A in there under that same club, they're added in there as well.
Okay, so hopefully everybody can get that figured out. That don't just hand off your points to the club secretary.
I spent a lot of time. So how I get the scores is when this is done. We have our website is graciously and wonderfully programmed by Bruce Horn. He hands me off an Excel file, or it's a comma separated file. So I have to work from this master spreadsheet of every single entry and every single club name, and we had to go and vet every single club name and make sure they were spelled right and edited. And when we went and published these results, we had over 10,000 entries in quite a few clubs that me and the editors at QST had to painstakingly and and really, really carefully make sure we got it right. And I'm sure we missed a few, and it also took a lot of chocolate.
You may have to bring in some.
I have to say, I really thank Jen and the editors at QST and Becky Schoenfeld and all the QST people for their support and their help in this, because it was quite a month getting that December issue together. And really, really want to send a shout out to Jody Morin, who does the layout for QST. She and I went over that time and time again, and it was painstaking, and it was getting stressful. And she has a love for Reese's peanut butter cups, so I kept feeding her Reese's peanut butter cups other times in duress.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you may need to call Ted's and bring in some of those steamed cheeseburgers for those late night tallying sessions. So.
So I just really, there was a lot of work that went into that. I feel bad when we missed one. Occasionally we had one club, and there's like, you listed us in two different entries. Like, well, okay, we'll change it in the online edition, but what's in print is already out. So we tried as much as we could to get them accurate, but it was tough. Because we had a lot of club names that are similar. Like here, I'll pick some more. I'm trying to find some more examples here, but we had like Central Oregon Coast ARC and Central Oregon DX Club. And the people on the West Coast, notice how I pronounced the name, the state correctly. You don't pronounce it Oregon. That's an East Coast thing. Anyway, so you want to make sure that, yes, they're both Central Oregon, but you want to make sure that you're selecting the right club that you put in there, that you're entering the right club name. Like another example here, Charlotte ARC, Amateur Radio Club, Charlotte ARS, Amateur Radio Society. Two different clubs, similar name. They may not even be in the same state. I'm assuming they're in North Carolina, but they may not be.
Yeah. And then you've even got Deers. You've got Deers, the Dresden Elementary Amateur Radio Society, and then you've got the Disney Emergency Amateur Radio Society. So I'm those acronyms get you every time.
I'm glad you brought that up. Aside from acronyms like ARC and ARS, we understand those. If your club is using an acronym, please do not use the acronym when you enter your club score. It really made it tough. It really made it tough, because who, there's several of them. There's one Bears, Bears, and there's also a Connecticut club, Bears of Manchester. Yeah. And you just put in Bears. Well, a lot of times I'd see what section they'd be in, and then you assume, okay, this guy's associating it to Bears and he's in Connecticut. Well, I think he means Bears of Manchester because of where they're located. But that doesn't necessarily mean there are no restrictions in field day. Since it's not a contest, there's no restriction. You don't have to be in a club territory. So in traditional contests, you have to be within a defined territory to contribute to your club. And if you're not, you have to be on an eligibility list. There's none of that. You can attribute your score to any club. You could be in Florida and attribute one up in Alaska if you wanted to. If you felt like sending your points their way, you could. So it really is up to you. And again, just you really want to avoid acronyms and make sure you have the club, the correct club you're attributing your score to.
Yeah, I think there's a Bears in Chicago too. The Broadcast Employees Amateur Radio. I think that's right.
Well, and there is
at one time there was.
And don't forget the Bears.
The Bears, yes. The Bears are in Chicago. Well, hey, if you have a question, give us a call. We're going to open up the lines right now at 859-982-7373. I'll give you the number again in a minute. But go ahead and call right now if you have a field day question for Paul Bourque and one SF. He is the contest manager at ARRL. So go ahead and give us a call, 859-982 7373 is the number, and you can tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live, and if you're on Spreaker, you can type in the comments, and I'll check those as we go on this evening. So, we always do this show each year at kind of the last minute here to kind of get through some of these tricky little rule things, and you see those mistakes. You go through the whole painstaking process of going through those CSV files. What are some of the common mistakes you saw last year, and how did that aggregate group scoring go?
Well, I mean, I think I kind of touched on that before. One of the most common things is just not attributing to the correct club. Another, an ARS instead of an ARC, or spelling the name of the club wrong because, I see it as a different club. Now, spelling errors are sometimes easy because they'll show up next to each other alphabetically. So there was a lot of that. I mean, spelling errors that was more of an editing thing. And I think I did see a couple scores where they added in their scores to the main club's call sign, and they may not even had an operation. And I really, it was more of just making sure that the club was spelled and formatted similarly. Now, we tried to program the web uploader front end to kind of give you a suggestion of your club name. And it won't cover all of them. It will only give you suggestions based on what was previously entered. And we went from the list from last year to try to clean up the bad club names. So if you start typing the word Manchester, for example, and there's more than one Manchester club, it'll give you a list of names. But if your club name isn't on there for some reason, because we're not limiting it to just ARRL affiliated clubs or contest clubs, it will allow you to type in the full name. So if you started to type something in and spelled it wrong, it's going to show up as a valid club name. But we did try to help by having a drop-down list to try to steer the clubs from entering the correct name. So basically what happens is if the club's name is not on the list, the first person that enters it, it's going to show up as that. If that was entered wrong, then somebody's going to go and enter it correctly. Then there will be two, one spelled incorrectly or maybe with the wrong something different in the name, like, county instead of area, or, there's a different word in there, like, northern county this instead of northern area this. There's going to be both there. So it's really kind of important to make sure. I think really what I emphasized was that club secretaries and people who are coordinating the field day with people operating from home is that they let their club know exactly how they wanted that name formatted and really try to stick to as close to the official club name as you can. I mean, sometimes they're too long and they get edited when it goes to QST because of space limitations. So we do have that too. So a lot of times you'll see county will be abbreviated to CO, ARC, for Amateur Radio Club, and a lot of that happens on the QST end, but that's more for space limitations than for the entry form.
All right, very good. Well, we're getting ready to take a break, but we have a call on the line, and I don't want to miss it. So let's take the call. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Good evening. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, good evening.
Oh, you're very welcome. Who do we have here?
Yeah, my name is Robin. It's call sign November 6, Romeo Lima Sierra, and I'm in the East Bay in California. And our club this year, which normally does the 24-hour field day and sets up at a site and the people come by and we do the whole shebang, this year we're teaming up with another club, and they're only doing part of a day, and I think all we're doing, we're helping them out, and we're running the get on the air tent and, doing what we can. I don't think we're operating under our normal club call sign. We're going to be helping this other club, and they're running under their call sign. My question is, as a member of the first club, the one that's helping the other one out, if I want to assign that club as my club when I'm turning in my at-home scoring, do they get the points even if they're not actually doing it, or should I use the other club's call sign, or does any of that matter?
All right, so let me see if I understand this correctly, because I'm kind of not. So you're going to help participate in the other club, but you want to work from home as well and contribute to like a Class D or E station to a different club? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I did that last year with my own club, but my own club, I believe, turned in a report, even though we weren't. Well, actually, we did set up at somebody's house and operated under the club's call sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think I understand. Okay, I think I understand. So, in other words, if you submit a score under your club's name and your club does not submit an entry, will that still get attributed? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it will. So if you put the name of your home club and they're not running a club station, your score will still show up as being attributed to their club score. Your Class D or E station from home will show up as whatever club you attribute it to, regardless of whether they have a Class A or B.
Okay, now I've got another fine point question. I actually tweeted this in, so I don't know if it's going to overlap or something, but I got to wondering, some stuff like, picking up and getting the ARRL message, that you send out several times during field day.
Sure.
That's worth 100 points. Now,
right.
If me and 10 other people in the club do the same thing and we all send in the message, because I don't know precisely what everybody else is doing, do those scores add up, or does the club just get one of those 100 points?
Okay, so what we're doing for the aggregate scores is we're just taking the sum of all the individual entries. So whatever bonus points each station earns on their own, or whatever QSO points they earn on their own, they're all going to get added up. So if 10 did, the aggregate score would show 1,000 points as being attributed to the club. We're since everyone's operating under their own call signs, we're treating them as separate entries, and we're just combining the individual scores as an aggregate score. So we're not cross-checking. We're not, if you work somebody on 20 meters phone and somebody else works the same guy on 20 meters phone, we don't consider it a dupe like you would if you were, both working at the club call under the club call sign. So it's, so you can all work the same stations. You get the same bonus points.
And so the other question I had while I got you on the phone here was I also run the Twitter page for our club, and we've tweeted out that we're going to be doing this, and we use the ARRLFD hashtag. Is that worth point?
So there are. I'm trying to find the actual wording of it here in the rules. Social media. 100 points for promoting your field day activation to the general public via an active, recognized, and utilized social media platform. Now, and it says Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. This bonus is available only to amateur radio clubs and field day groups that welcome visitors to their operation. So it says individual participants do not qualify for this bonus. So you should really be more of a club that is, promoting your social media activation at a club's, at a public site.
Okay. Fine print department. Here's the details on this. My club Twitter account, that I happen to be the one who runs it, put out a notice that we are working with this other club who is at a park where people can show up, and we gave the details of that and the operating hours so people can come by and visit and so forth. So we are helping the other club out. The other club has some of our members there.
Sure.
And
now,
so we are...
Is the other club claiming that bonus as well?
I would imagine they would be if they do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a sticky point because you wouldn't want to have every member of your club be claiming that bonus. If
No. I'm just saying that. I guess one person would have to send a photograph of the tweet in or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, if you want to, you can always just, if you want to discuss it more in detail, you can always send me an email. My call sign is November 1 Sierra Foxtrot Echo SFE, and I'm N1SFE at ARRL.org. Just shoot me an email, and we could discuss that too, because that really is kind of it's a gray area.
I guess the worst that would happen is it would get rejected.
Yeah, and really, it's really about the honor system, and and really what the intent of the rule is. You're getting the message out, and we're not gonna nitpick over little things like that. Really, it's about presenting amateur radio to the public and promoting it,
right?
And getting out of here and having fun. I mean, that's one of the biggest things about field days. Really, I think, especially with the changes the last couple of years, a lot of participants got kind of hung up on the fine details of the rules and kind of lost sight of the fact that what is amateur radio, what is field day really all about? And it really is about showcasing amateur radio to the public. So I think you're kind of going in the right direction with that.
Okay, great. And by the way, thanks for putting that insert into the field day issue of QST, the guide for the for field day. That was a great touch. And 73, thanks for doing the show.
All right, 73, and yeah, that was our marketing department who came up with that one, and that was a wonderful idea. So I believe that was sponsored by somebody. I can't remember who sponsored it off the top of my head, but that was
some store that sells ham radio equipment, I think, was a sponsor of that. Who recently closed down their Bay Area location, by the way.
I didn't want to speak to specifics in case we were crossing any lines there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Well, Robin, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it. It's always a lot more fun when people call. So thank you so much for calling and some good questions.
All right. Thank you.
Because what's a call-in show with no callers?
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be like if Fraser Crane didn't have everybody calling asking for a second life. I kind of sometimes I feel like I'm a psychiatrist.
Or at least play one on TV. Well, anyway. Yes. All right. Well, we're overdue for our break. So we're going to take our break here. And we're going to come back and we're going to take some more of your calls at 859-982-7373. Right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Thanks for choosing Tower Electronics. How may we help you today? We have PL259s. We have in connectors. We have SMA adapters. We have BNC adapters. What can I show you today?
Where's the tower?
Well, we don't actually have a tower with us, but we have all kinds of things you can use with a tower. We have power poles, antennas, soldering irons, and meters.
Where's the tower?
Ma'am, that's the name of our company. We can't haul towers to all the Hamfests across the country that we visit, but we have almost every connector and adapter you would need to connect your antenna that's on your tower.
I don't think there's a tower back there. I really don't.
Tower Electronics. Visit us at a Hamfest near you or call 920-435-2973 or see our whole catalog at pl-259.com. Sorry, one thing we don't have is a tower.
Join the conversation. Give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number to call is 859-982-7373. Or, if you'd rather type than talk, tweet us at Ham Talk Live. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
CQ Field Day. CQ Field Day. This is Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tower Electronics has all kinds of stuff that you need to put on your feed lines and rigs and antennas. They're going to be at the Oak Creek, Wisconsin Hamfest on July 10th, but you can visit them anytime, anywhere at pl-259.com. Ham Talk Live is on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And before we get back to your phone calls and tweets and all of that, it's time for our weekly segment, the N9 GSU Joke of the Week.
Now it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week, a part of the show where Rick tells us a ham radio joke. The Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week is brought to you by QRM Labs. Now, here's Rick Garrett in N9 GSU with today's Ham Talk Live Joke of the Week.
I had an antenna raising party last Saturday. We worked all morning and then it was time to break for lunch, so I ordered pizza. Everybody came in but Gary. He was still up on the roof. So I walked outside and yelled up, "Gary, why are you still on the roof?" He said, "Well, you said pizza was on the house."
This has been the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett in N9 GSU. Tune in again next week for another joke from Rick.
Oh, boy. Pizza is on the house.
I just have to say one thing. That's
so maybe that's some of that field day pizza that's on the house. There we go. All right, the phone number 859-982-7373 or tweet us at Ham Talk Live. If you're on Spreaker, you can type in the comments, and if you're listening to us on WTWW or on the podcast edition, you won't be able to reach us live since we're doing this Thursday night, and hopefully we will hear you on this weekend at Field Day. I'm going to be visiting a couple of field days. I'll be at the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club. Let's see, is that K4CN? I think it is. Before I head up to the Voice of America Museum at the Westchester Amateur Radio Association, WC8VOA. So that's where I will be on the air.
You're doing a bit of driving there, huh? You're doing a bit of driving there, huh?
Yes, I will be driving there.
I mean, I would say, is it Westchester from Kentucky quite a haul?
It's about an hour, not quite an hour, depending on traffic.
It just seems longer because in two different states.
Yeah. But when the state line is 20 minutes away, that's the way it goes.
That's right, because you're down by Cincinnati, right?
Yes. Yeah. We're just on the Kentucky side of Cincinnati now, so I'm going to visit the club here, and then I got a bunch of projects going on up north, so we'll get up to the Westchester Club for the evening, so that'll be a lot of fun. Well, again, if you have a question, give us a call. This is your chance to get a question from the expert. It's an answer from the expert. It's 859-982-7373, and let me check the tweets here and make sure we're not missing anything. I see Robin's tweet, but we got to that one, so I think we're in good shape. Now, one other thing, and I know we talked about this with a couple of my friends from the Westchester Amateur Radio Association here. I think it was earlier today, actually, with Jocelyn, talking about the battery from home and which class it is. And I know we talked about it on the show last year. So let's straighten out the difference between the bonus points and the class for that battery.
Okay, so first off, we have the quote unquote home station classes. Now, I had people question me on this too. A home station doesn't necessarily mean someone's home. It means a permanent licensed location. That could be a club, a club field house where it's a permanent, where they have a station set up. That technically, if they're running on commercial power, is a class D Delta, because that is stations operating from permanent or licensed station locations using commercial power. So that's a class D Delta. Now we'll just strip that down just to the class first. Class E Echo is home stations on emergency power. Again, same as class D, but using emergency power for transmitters and receivers. All right. So if you're operating entirely on battery from home, you would be a class E Echo, because that would be emergency power. The same thing would apply if you were on a generator on class E. You'd be class E, but you wouldn't be running on battery. So you'd still be class E, but if you were a home station on battery, you also qualify for bonus points. You qualify for the 100% emergency power if you're on emergency power the whole time, regardless of whether that's a battery or a generator. But if you're running on battery and, again, no motor-driven generator, and your QRP, power level of less than 5 watts, you also qualify for the 5-time power multiplier. So there's the power multiplier, which multiplies your points, your QSOs, by a different factor depending on whether you're on emergency power or not. And if you look at that bonus point, it is you have to be running 5 watts or less, and you are powered from something other than a motor-driven generator or commercial power. That can be batteries charged by solar, wind, whatever, or solar, wind. So in other words, you have to be QRP and you're running less than 5 watts or less, rather. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yep, it does. It does. Well,
don't confuse the class with the power multiplier. So for home stations, you have a home station on battery power, but if you're under 5 watts, you get a different power multiplier. Now, they could be confusing that also with Class Bravo B battery, which is a field-based station set up and operated by no more than 2 persons, right? But they are not at a permanently licensed station location. There is a Class Bravo battery, which has that same thing. A field-based station set up and operated by no more than 2 persons. All contacts must be made with an output power of 5 watts or less, and the power source must be something other than commercial mains or a generator. So that is where the 5-time power multiplier comes in.
Well, let's open it up one last time here. 859-982-7373. If you have a question, this is the last call here. 859-982-7373. And we'll finish things up here. So what are you doing for Field Day? We talked about what I'm doing. What are you doing?
Well, we have that mighty W1AW being activated for the weekend, so I was hoping to get over there for a little bit, but we got a busy weekend here at home, so I'm hoping to be able to get over there at some point. But I'm not quite sure whether that's going to personally happen. For me, I would love to get on and be one of the W1AW operators, because it's always a thrill to be the to be the recipient of the pileup than being the other side. Again, I tell you though, as I was telling you before the show, Neil, I may be the contest manager, but I play one on TV. Oh no, but I may be the contest manager, but I'm not really. I'm not a diehard contester. I'm more of a casual contester. I get overrun by pileups. The first time I did a pileup was actually Field Day in 2019, and I was so overwhelmed. I had to step away, and Bart W9JJ stepped in and ran it like a seasoned pro. Well, the seasoned pro that he is. It's always a thrill to get behind get on the air at W1AW. And because of COVID, we haven't had it hasn't even been opened up to staff, let alone visitors. So I haven't had an opportunity to even operate there. I did record a presentation for the ARRL Learning Network over there, so it was like probably one of the first times I've been in there since the pandemic hit. So it's always a thrill to be.
I can attest that anytime you get on W1AW, you will get a pileup, even if it's Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. You'll get a pileup. So I can only imagine what they are during Field Day.
You know, the first time I operated W1AW is when I went to the league for my job interview, and after the end of my interview, I interviewed with Bart. He says, "Well, do you want to go see? Want to go see W1AW?" So we walked over, and Joe NJ1Q said, "Hey, do you want to operate?" I'm like, well, yeah. And the bands were dead. He put me on 20. It was the middle of the day, and the bands were dead. So I didn't even call CQ. I was actually just scanning around the dial, and I caught two QSOs in progress. And I caught them both at the end, and I jump in after the guys are clearing each other. I get on and say, Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey. There's this long silence, and then, did you just say? And then they were both both stations were the same thing. They were like, oh my God, I've never worked W1AW. This is so awesome. So it really makes you feel good. I remember Field Day of 2019. I worked the station, and they said, this is my first HF contact. And I wish I had remembered the call sign, because I was running a pileup, so I didn't have time to even write that call sign down, because I really would have loved to have included that in the Field Day article. That, this station making their first HF contact as a Field Day participant had worked W1AW, and they were thrilled as their first HF.
Yeah. Oh, always a thrill. I remember the first time I operated W1AW on lunch break while I was over there. I got South Africa twice.
Wow.
And it's like, wait a minute, and I didn't even really think about it. I just logged it and kept on going. And then it's like, wait a minute, that was South Africa and twice.
Yeah, Joe Karsha says that W1AW automatically adds, just the call sign automatically adds like 10 dB to your signal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if you put a YL on it, W1AW, then you get that extra 3 dB there. So, yeah.
Watch out. They think you were running illegal power.
Well, Paul, we are out of time, and I think we've hit all the questions. So we'll wish everyone a great Field Day, whether you're operating at home or with a group, and things are starting to get back to whatever normal is. And so maybe next year it'll all be back to normal. We'll wait and see. But whatever you do this weekend, we wish you well. And Paul, any closing comments here before we shut things down tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Get out there, get on the air, and have fun. Really, the key is to have fun. And and hopefully maybe we'll introduce some new people to amateur radio, or maybe even inspire the next generation of amateur operators. Just get out there and show everyone what the best that amateur radio can be, and demonstrate. There's so many different facets. Really, field day is really what you make of it. Whether it's an emergency preparedness exercise, whether you do consider it a contest, even though we don't officially consider it a contest. Just get out there and really take from it what part of it you want, and have fun.
Yeah, it is a fun time. So make the most of it. Well, thanks, Paul, for coming on the show again. We do this every year, and I appreciate you continuing the tradition and answering the questions. And you got a couple of stumpers tonight, so good job with that.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. It's always great talking to you, and hopefully we'll see you out here on the East Coast again.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm looking forward to getting away. So that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to my guest, Paul Bourque, N1SFE, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in and typing in, and invite you back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for a list of all of our upcoming guests. Visit hamtalklive.com. And if you like the show, please leave us a review. That helps others find us faster. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375. Have a great field day, and may the good DX be yours.
Well, you came right back to my CQ call. Your readability 5 and strength 9. You never once mentioned your weather at all, and I didn't mention mine.